Cult Leadership, Jim Jones by Lacey Weeks. Who was Jim Jones? Jim Jones was the leader of a group that was named People's Temple. He provided equality, food, shelter, and healing. Coulthard, 2018. Jim Jones referred to himself as a prophet who would guide and protect his followers. He believed in Christian redemption and racial equality, wanting everyone to belong and have equal rights. Poster, 2019, page 317. On November 18, 1978, Jones convinced or forced over 900 adults and children to drink a poison juice mixture, resulting in a large mass murder-suicide in Guyana. FBI, no date. Ethical violations. Jim Jones was accused of forcing drugs, sexual assault, and mind control. Walla Chatayuk, 2007. He also considered family and friends that could visit Jonestown as they wanted as a huge threat, thinking that they would try to change the minds of his followers. The media started to become interested in him, so he and his followers moved to Guyana, calling their location Jonestown. Moore, 2020. He had a group of men called White Knights who acted as a military to control the rest of the followers. Walla Chatayuk, 2007. The White Knights were armed with weapons. If people tried to escape, there would be punishment that would psychologically alter the mind, or punishment as terrible as death. Lasaga, 1980, page 211. He was also very aggressive and angry if he did not get his way. He was essentially holding his followers captive. Leadership traits of Jim Jones. Jim Jones was an authoritarian leader. He expected his followers to do what they were told, or they would be punished for their disobedience. Concepts of leadership, no date. Jones displays leadership traits such as confidence, dependability, loyalty, strategic planning, focus, and determination. He has confidence in his abilities to manipulate people into thinking he could heal the sick and dying. People could highly depend on him and believe he was loyal to protect them and make them better if they fell ill. Moore, 2020. He planned to take their money, their homes, and sometimes custody of their children to keep his followers from leaving him and to rely on him. Moore, 2020. He had focus and determination of what he wanted, and his communication and power of words made some of most of his followers very fearful of him. Leadership skills to undermine influence. The leadership skills I would need to have are influence, trustworthiness, and communication and strategic thinking. According to Concepts of Leadership, no date, I would develop leadership based on the great events theory. If I recognized that a cult leader was displaying unethical behavior, such as severe abuse or manipulation, I would need to take a stand during this crisis. I would need to influence the cult leader that I am a follower while influencing his followers to leave the cult and understand what is happening. I would have to gain the trust of the followers that my reasoning is valid and prove my knowledge through effective communication. I would also have to initiate strategic thinking to provide a plan of action on how to convince the followers to leave without being harmed. By doing so, a large loss of followers may result in disrupting the cult leader's primary plans and leadership. Kellerman, 2004, states, "Without followers, nothing happens, including bad leadership." Chapter 11. I may also develop leadership based on the transformational leadership theory. By noticing that laws are potentially being broken or followers are participating in unethical acts forced by the leader, I would choose to become a leader to make a change. Concepts of Leadership, no date. Prevention with people management skills. Depending on the type of leader, easy to convince or not, I would need to use strategic thinking and time management. If the cult leader was easy to convince, I may be able to talk to him or her out of seizing power over a large group of people. I could elaborate on the ethical issues of the situation and the consequences of the law, if any. If the cult leader seems uneasy to convince and strong-willed, I would reach out to as many followers as I could and try to get them to understand what they are getting themselves into. Although followers of a negative cult leader can have significant psychological alteration, if the leader has not successfully seized power over the group yet, it may be considerably easier to talk to as many followers as I can. I would also evaluate the ethical considerations of the behavior and actions occurring daily. I would also live by the phrase, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Sun Tzu, as cited by Dennis, 2019, by getting to know this cult leader. Now, if there were no cult leader that I were aware of, I would actively talk about the importance of being a good leader and a good follower. I would pass out flyers and reach out to people on social media. By spreading the word, I would be able to promote positivity about groups with leaders and followers, while addressing the ethical considerations and negative aspects of what to look for when becoming part of a group and following a leader. The sources I used to create this presentation are Concepts of Leadership from the Raymer Group site, an article from the People's Press, or called The People's Press, The Evolution of the Media's Treatment of Jim Jones and People's Temple, an article called Keep Your Friends Close and Your Enemies Closer, Not in Cyberspace, from the U.S. Naval Institute, an article from the FBI website called Jonestown, Bad Leadership, What It Is, How It Happens, Why It Matters, by Kellerman, 2004, an article called Death in Jonestown, Techniques of Political Control by a Paranoid Leader, an article called Jonestown, 40 Years On, an article by Poster, 2019, called Jonestown in the Diplomatic History, and then the documentary called Jonestown, Paradise Lost.